All right, hello everybody and welcome to our latest info session, which is on super stapling and TPB ID requirements. I'm Laurel Kaslasi. Michael is here in the background having some technical issues with his camera today, but is here to answer any questions. And we have Kate who will be presenting the stapling super information. So how about we go ahead, Kate, you share your screen and I will mute myself.
There we go. Got it up and working. Hello, everyone. Yes, as Laura mentioned, today we are talking about stapling super. And this is just a very brief overview with some explanations regarding what it is, what employers' requirements are. So what is a stapled super fund? A stapled super fund is an existing super account linked or stapled to an individual employee, so it follows them as they change jobs. Currently, if a new employee does not provide a super fund, an account is set up via the employer's default fund. The changes moving forward are from November the 1st, 2021. If a new employee doesn't choose a super fund, an employer may need to request the employee's stapled superannuation fund details from the ATO. If a new employee does choose their own fund or they choose to use the employer default fund, then a request for a stapled super fund doesn't need to be obtained. Now, the reason for this new system is to help avoid individuals having multiple funds and unnecessary costs, such as administration fees, which are applied to every fund. It will also make it much easier to keep track of superannuation accounts, as many individuals are not familiar with the rollover process. In turn, this is going to benefit employers as they will ideally be provided the correct details straight up. It is also a benefit to the employers in regards to keeping track of super. You may need to request stapled super fund details for some employees who aren't eligible to choose their own super fund. And this includes employees that are temporary residents and those that are covered by an enterprise agreement or workplace determination made before January 1, 2021. So what are the employer's obligations? Well, the first step is to offer your eligible employees a choice of superannuation fund form. So an employer will need to give eligible new employees a superannuation standard choice form and pay their super into the account they tell you on the form. This is no change to your normal superannuation obligations. Step 2, request stapled superannuation fund details. So this will occur if your employee doesn't choose a superannuation fund. So you may need to log into the online services and request their stapled super fund details. Your tax agent or other tax professionals can also do this for you. You must pay the employee's superannuation using the stapled superannuation fund details that the ATO has provided to you. Step 3 is to pay the superannuation into a default fund. So an employer can pay into a default fund or another fund that meets the choice of obligations if, and it has to cover both of these 2 points. The employee doesn't choose a superannuation fund and the ATO have advised you that the employee doesn't have a stapled superannuation fund. The initial steps prior to requesting the stapled super fund details. So although you may know that you need to request these details from the ATO, there are a couple of things that need to be done before you can do that. So the ATO needs to be able to confirm that an employment relationship exists, such as submitting a tax file number declaration, which nowadays most software programs can do for you electronically, or you can file a single touch payroll pay event. So once you've paid the employee and that STP lodgement has gone through to the ATO, they will then marry up that relationship. If you can't establish an employment relationship, what do you do? So you need the stapled super fund details from the ATO, but you're unable to either lodge that tax file declaration in time, for example, if it's at the end of a quarter, or if you're paying quarterly, or the end of a month if you're paying monthly. The ATO has identified a couple of scenarios also in regards to this situation. So you may have a contractor that's entitled to super, or you have incomplete employee information, or as I said previously, there may be the situation where you're paying it before you've actually got the information from your employee. Request stapled super fund details in ATO online services. So this is going to run you through what you need to do in order to request your information from the ATO. Log into the ATO online service for businesses. Navigate to the employee super account screen via the employees menu and select request to open the form. You then enter your employee's details, read and click the declaration and submit your request. The ATO do stipulate that it can take a couple of working days at most to get the information back to you. This is just a general overview of how the process works. So obviously you've got your employee, they'd start work. If they've received their choice of super form and they have completed for you with a valid choice, then nothing else needs to be done. You just continue as is. If no choice is received, then you will go through the process of requesting their stapled super from the ATO. So that would be in this situation here. So you can also do bulk requests, which is also outlined in this document here. This is how to do a bulk request. Basically, it's exactly the same thing regarding the ATO. However, it does take a little bit longer, up to 5 business days. You do need to ensure you have that relationship link with each of the new employees, and you submit the form via the secure mail function in the ATO portal. If you have failed to make a request for a stapled super detail for an employee, as this is a new process, the ATO will help and support employers in the first instance, although you may have to pay the choice shortfall penalty if you don't make a stapled super fund request. You can avoid the penalty by requesting the stapled super fund details if they have not provided you with their choice of fund, paying into the employee's stapled super fund and paying on time.
Beautiful, thank you very much. I just wanted to add a couple of things, and that is the default super fund. What is a default super fund? Default super fund is a super fund that an employer has. So for example, a lot of our clients use Australian Super. This is in no way a recommendation, but just an example of what a default super fund is. So that's basically you ask the employee what super fund details they would like their super paid into, and they can choose to say default fund. So that means that Australian Super in this example is the default fund. And what we've also done as well with the outline of how to do these requests, we've got a cheat sheet that will be coming with this recording where you can click on the links to download the form that's required, especially for those scenarios where you need to pay a contractor super or you can't establish that employment relationship that Kate was discussing. The other thing to consider is if you have questions to just ask, because at this point in time, the ATO and all of us here are wanting to support employers to be able to do this without any problems. So thank you very much, Kate.